Well, good evening to everyone and welcome to our first commissioners meeting of a brand new year. We'll ask everyone to silence your cell phones at this time. And we'll also ask Chris to come and give us our invocation.
Thank you, Commissioners. Let us pray. Lord, as we come out of this holiday season, we once again give you thanks for your presence and for the blessing of your Son, Lord, and just for your grace and love and mercy that you extend to all of us. Lord, as we go through tonight, we just ask that your presence fill this room. Lord, that you guide our decision-making, that you give us the humbleness to hear the concerns of our community, the willingness to act according to your will, Lord, and just bless us in all ways. We pray these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. We'll now officially call our meeting to order. We'll ask Commissioner Deatherage to lead us in our pledge.
You all stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have our conflict of interest. Are there any conflicts with any commissioners concerning any items? Hearing none, we'll move forward with our approval of our evening agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed, like sign. Items for presentation. Mr. Loris Creasman.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We have some employees here tonight to accept their service awards, and we'd like to acknowledge them. Let's see, Jenny Haddock with 5 years of service with the veterans. Jenny, come up. Oh, I know that. Let's see, and we have Martin Oro with Emergency Medical Services. And he has 25 years of service. 10 years of service. Oh. He wishes. Okay, well that should count. Next we have Lori Leggett, who actually has 25 years of service and wants to keep them all. And she's our DSS director. Thank you. I would also like to acknowledge some employees that could not be here tonight as well. Marshall Yantz, who has 5 years of service with the Department of Social Services. Alma Villa, who has 10 years of service with Social Services. And Rebecca Goodwin, who has 20 years of service with Social Services. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item, our presenter is not available on this evening.
So Jamie had a medical issue that kept her away tonight. Her question to the board on the digital inclusion plan was if the board, in reviewing the information you had in your packet, was comfortable moving forward, that was fine. If not, it's not under pressure to get it done tonight. She can certainly come at the next meeting and make the presentation. but it's completely up to the board. I think Commissioner Walker served on that committee.
I'd like to see her come and make the presentation because this is a hot item.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't understand it. I read through it and looking for diversity and equity too, and some of the verbiage. And I don't know if I saw it, but I just want to know more about it. I want to know that it's something we really need and it's not just some political ploy.
Okay, we'll just continue it to our next meeting in February. At this time, we'll move forward with our public comments. And I'll remind everyone, you have 3 minutes. And when you approach the podium, identify yourself, and you have 3 minutes. The first one I see is this TA or TE?
TA.
TA. Say it for me say your name for me.
Tanawa Downing.
Tanawa.
Yes, sir.
Downing, okay.
Good evening. My name is Tanawa Downing. I'm a civil rights advocate and litigator out of Washington, D.C. I need to provide a public notice to the commission here. This in accordance with the USCS Rules of Civil Procedure, as well as also Rule 17 and Rule 20 of the United States Supreme Court. So the Constitution of the United States is the overarching requirements that every state must follow. I trust that we all agree with that. States cannot enact their own alternative legislation, substitute that for the guarantees of the Constitution, and go out and enforce that. That would obviously be quite unconstitutional. Now, Clause 1 of Amendment 5 to the United States Constitution says no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment or indictment of a grand jury. However, the state of North Carolina here has enacted its own alternative legislation that permits prosecuting attorneys and law enforcement to charge by way of information as opposed to indictment, and that is unconstitutional. Now, an emolument violation is when you pay someone to violate the Constitution. You can't do that. Certainly not when you receive federal funding. You cannot pay someone to abridge federal law when you receive federal funding. There's actually 2 areas of the Constitution that reinforces this. The first is Article 1, Section 10. That's where it says that no state shall create any law which shall impair the obligation of contracts. So police officers and prosecutors, they're all under a contract. That's a contract to perform based upon the oath or affirmation that they took to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. So when the state of North Carolina creates a law that directs them to disobey the Constitution, that would obviously be a violation of Article 1, Section 10. Now, the second place that reinforces this is the 14th Amendment. That's where it says no state shall create or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges and immunities of United States citizens. The privileges and immunities of United States citizens are at a minimum those enumerated within the Bill of Rights. This was affirmed by the United States Supreme Court 2019 Timms v. Indiana, unanimous decision. They cannot be impaired, and thus the state of North Carolina has created a law and is directing their agents, whom you guys pay, to violate the Constitution of the United States. As a result, there is an inordinate amount of people currently in prison here in the state of North Carolina illegally and unconstitutionally. So I'm preparing to litigate this to the United States Supreme Court on behalf of the more than 700,000 people who are currently in prison here in America illegally and unconstitutionally. We're here today to let you guys know that if you continue to pay these public officials to violate their obligations codified in the Constitution, that criminal sanctions can come from that. That's not the direction we want to go. I want you guys to be aware of this issue so we can work together to fix the problem. There is a notice that I need to provide to the record. You guys, I would highly recommend that you review this. Failure to review it does not mitigate your culpability in this particular issue once made aware of this. That's why we're bringing this to your attention so we can work together to fix this problem. But before I go, I have one more thing I need to say. And that is that I know that as soon as we're done, you're going to go to the attorney. You're going to ask that attorney whether or not what I'm saying is true. And that attorney is going to point you to a case from 1884 called Hurtado versus California. And before you choose to rely upon that as the foundation, I must remind you that the Constitution of the United States of America is the foundation, not a judge-made ruling. Supreme Court of the United States has no constituted authority to be able to alter, amend, or destroy any of the provisions or guarantees of the Constitution, because that must be done by an authentic and explicit act of people in accordance with the special amending procedure of Article 5. So thank you guys so much. God bless. And once again, all my contact information is here. I would welcome a discussion with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Who should I give this to, sir?
Clerk.
Thank you.
Juanita Houston.
I'm Juanita Houston. As you know, I've come here several times. I have been seeking to stop the funding and force compliance of DSS and its attorneys, which this board helps fund. I've been through your budget. You do fund them. You do have the means to put them into compliance, and you have yet to do so. My children were taken unlawfully. They were held against their will in a locked DSS office that Lori Leggett was well aware of, denying even Beaufort County Sheriff's deputies the right to see my children. They did this for over 4 hours, and they were allowed to do so with no one being charged. We never received, by law, our 7 to 10 day hearing. We were never allowed any 30-day hearings. 14 months is how long it took to get my children out of the clutches of DSS after false allegations, after they had my husband falsely arrested and those charges thrown out. My children's rights were violated. My parental rights were violated. I told you I would never stop coming. I would never stop telling my story. And I would never stop until those that hurt my family and did so unlawfully were brought to justice. I meant that with every fiber of my being. I came here and I asked this board, and you listened. You wanted to speak with Matthew Jackson, but he was allowed to send a letter to you, but you helped fund his salary. He still has his job. I want to know how. I want to know why you didn't do more. You are elected to bring change, to uphold our Constitution, to stop the injustice and the retaliation against us parents for speaking out and wanting what every parent wants for their children. Every single day, rights of children and families are violated in Beaufort County Court, whether it be DSS, family court, or juvenile. Every day that you sit here and you do nothing as elected officials, you're helping them. You're hurting our children just as much as they are. So let me be clear and loud for everyone in this room. The children of Beaufort County are not for sale. My children were not for sale. You will continue to see me until you bring about the change that you were elected for.
Thank you. Sherry Tovar, did I say that correctly?
Hi, I'm Cherry Tovar. I too did an affidavit, as did my boyfriend, Chris Vance, who stands here with me today. Chris has trouble with public speaking, so I, with his mom, Juanita, are his voice. Chris, with 3 brothers, was placed in DSS care unlawfully, while his minor sister was not. In the 14 months DSS kept him in custody, myself and his family was restricted contact with him. He was never allowed to speak at court, even though he asked social workers, GALs, and attorneys. There was never a 7 to 10 day hearing. Chris was placed in 3 different locked facilities without a court order. He was bounced around a lot trying to see his siblings and families, which was classified by DSS as running away. His personal cell phone that was paid by his parents was taken, which was also cut off all communication with his family in West Virginia. When he got a job, his paydays were taken by DSS and foster mom, telling him that it would be given back to him and as he needed things. Today, he has never seen any of those funds. At the last facility, Chris was abused and mistreated. When he told no one would listen, so he did run away. He was gone 2 months avoiding abuse of DSS. I personally was threatened with removal from my father's care because of visiting and being around his parents. DSS caseworker/supervisor Andreas Starkey outright lied to my father, telling him Chris was beaten by his parents and found to be unfit. This was before the Houstons ever got a hearing of any kind. Chris had to call me from friends' phones as DSS isolated him. They often lied to him that I and his family had not requested access to see him. Chris was removed from school by DSS, throwing him behind in graduating. They refused to get him in therapy. They canceled his wisdom teeth removal 3 times, so when his mother did get him back, that surgery was then more complicated and painful for Chris because the roots had curled into his jawbone. We want change. We want the law upheld. We want our rights protected. We want you and the world to know, the courts, the judges, DSS is not the best interest of the child. Thank you.
Thank you. So you two were doing it together?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Jessica Jones?
Gentlemen, my children were taken at 1:15 in the morning on January 27th, 2024. I made you guys aware of this. I came in front of your board. Aside from you, Mr. Dunn, you weren't elected yet.
Could you talk louder, because Microphone,
Sure,
put it
I
out.
came to see you May 6th of 2024 and explained that my 3 children were taken over truancy. Well, fast forward to September 23rd of 2025, my son Jaden ran away. He's currently missing because of Beaufort County Department of Social Services negligence. We want our children back. We are not being given equal access to the court, due process. Children are being stolen without court orders, signatures, and all the things. And you just let Matthew Jackson run amok. It's like your pride and joy. And we need change. These children deserve a board that cares about them, a board that will defend them like they've promised to do. That's all I have to say tonight.
Okay, thank you. Stacy Bell.
Hello. As you know, my name is Stacey Bell. I was hesitant to come up here tonight, and that should concern everyone in this room. This meeting is open to the public, yet I had to seriously consider whether speaking would result in retaliation from DSS, because retaliation is something I have already experienced. My case has been going on for 9 months. My children were removed, and I still have not had my first full court hearing. During this time, DSS withheld visitation without court orders, restricted contact without judicial authorization, and taken actions that punish me for asserting my rights. This is not confusion. This is not miscommunication. This is misleading and false documentation. This is visitation taken without a judge's signature. This is intimidation when concerns are raised. This is denial of due process, and this is a violation of parental and civil rights. On December 22nd, a scheduled visitation was terminated and then suspended. The reason given was that I was talking about court. In reality, I calmly corrected a factual misstatement and explained that my child's own statements denying harm had been overlooked. Law enforcement was called. It escalated really quickly on their end. And my visitation was suspended without a court order. I want to be clear, this process has caused prolonged emotional and psychological distress. I am expected to remain perfectly logical and composed while my relationships with my children are repeatedly disrupted. Without judicial authority, any parent in this position would struggle. That does not make any parent unfit. It makes the process harmful. What makes this even more troubling is that I have a long history of cooperation with DSS spanning more than a decade. I understand this system, and this is how I know. This is not how it's supposed to work. I have filed motions, they were ignored. I have submitted sworn affidavits, they were disregarded. I have contacted DHHS and oversight entities, nothing's changed. Everyone says they care about the children, but caring about children is not a slogan. It's an action. Separating children from safe parents without due process is not care, it is harm. I have proof of what I am saying, documentation, records, timelines, recordings. And if anyone truly wants to understand why foster care numbers continue to rise, remove the Title IV-D and the Title IV-E financial incentives and watch how quickly removals decline. Thank you and have a blessed evening.
Thank you. Jessica Saxton.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Saxton. I'm also a civil rights advocate and litigator out of Washington, D.C. I am also here to provide notice. This is in accordance with USCS Rules of Civil Procedure, as well as Rule 17 and Rule 20 from the United States Supreme Court. The Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land. No state, no county, no court, no policy has the authority to create anything that contradicts the Constitution and deprives the citizens and the parents and the children that just spoke today of their rights that are secured and protected by the Constitution. Yet this is happening every single day in family court and right here in Beaufort County. Across this nation, children are in fact being removed from fit, loving, healthy parents, not for abuse, not for neglect, but strictly for profit under Title IV-D and Title IV-E funding. The states and the counties, as you all know, they receive this federal funding regardless of why the child is removed. Our children have turned into nothing more than a federal pipeline of money, and it is a financial commodity, and that's it. I wish I could say that this is a conspiracy, but it is not. It is accurate to say that a portion of this county's budget goes to fund the courts, the infrastructure. Sir, I heard you months ago talk about how you facilitate and you have a budget that facilitates the operation of the courts. Some of your budget does go to facilitate social services and some of the social workers, one of which, Miss Lori Leggett, was actually served today with an affidavit of criminal conspiracy against one of the mothers, from one of the mothers that just spoke. When government officials, including you all, judges, attorneys, they are officers of the court, clerk of court, your law enforcement, and any other county-funded agency, when they knowingly or negligently deprive citizens of their rights and security and protected by the Constitution, that's a violation of 18 U.S.C. 242. When two or more conspire against these parents, that's a violation of 18 U.S.C. 241. That's conspiracy to deprive of rights. What's the most important for you guys, 18 U.S.C. 4, that's misprision of felony. That states that whoever is made aware of a crime that is cognizable to any court of the United States and does not report that as soon as possible commits a felony in itself. It says that you must report it to a civil or a military authority. And I have watched your videos before. The same parents have been up here informing you of the crimes that are happening by state agents in this county, and I don't think any of you here have reported those crimes. As elected officials, every one of you swore an oath to support and defend and uphold the Constitution. Mr. Deathridge, for years, has been talking about and attempting to get everyone here on board with supporting and defending the Constitution. Sir, I'm giving you a way to support and defend the Constitution tonight. I am serving everyone here tonight with affidavits of criminal conspiracy. These affidavits of criminal conspiracy contain prima facie evidence of crimes that have been committed by judges that are right here in Beaufort County: Regina Parker, Jonathan Jones, Mr. Williams, and there's one other one, Keith Mason. All four of these judges have unlawfully removed children and deprived children and their families of their rights that are secured and protected by the Constitution in violation of 18 U.S.C. 241 and 242. So I'm serving you with these affidavits of criminal conspiracy. You have a duty to report these crimes to the appropriate authority. These crimes need to go to the FBI, and they need to report it because all these judges are now in violation. Okay. So
your time's up.
Our children are not for sale, like the other parents said, and no system that profits off of the destruction of families has the moral or constitutional authority to exist. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving forward, our legislative updates. I do not see any elected officials here, so we will move forward. We'll move forward to our items for consent. Excuse me, I have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Thank you. We move forward to items for decision, economic development. Ms. Susan?
Good evening, Commissioners. Economic Development currently leases office space at 108 Union Drive, and our lease expires March 31st of this year. We are relocating to the county-owned building at 117 West 3rd Street in Washington, the former county attorney's building. In preparation for the move, we are requesting approval of a budget amendment to transfer $11,000 from the Economic Development Special Revenue Fund to the general fund for the purchase of equipment for the new office. It is the recommendation of our office that you approve the budget amendment, which is attached to this, to transfer the $11,000 from the Special Revenue Fund to the general fund for the purchase of equipment related to our relocation. A copy is included with your packet. Thank you.
Is there a motion or there's comments?
Question.
Go ahead.
What is the equipment that you're buying?
We need chairs for the conference room.
$11,000 for chairs.
We are also buying light fixtures and blinds, and I can give you an itemized list.
I wish we'd had it in here. It would have been very helpful. But it's basically furnishings for the building. It's not things that you can transfer from your present location up there and use again. It's things that are unique to this building.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, all right.
Have a motion, is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item for decision from the tax assessor, Lloyd.
Okay, I believe I had two items in front of you. The first, I believe, was the value change on property. That one is going to be really simple. At the Board of Equalization Review, I believe it was on December 16th, there was an item that came before, I believe everyone who's sitting here, but came before the board that day. It was an item in which it was fairly simple. The board wanted Mr. Howell, I believe it was, got a perk test to see if it went forward. Environmental Health has told me that has gone forward. It was approved. It was not denied. And if you recall, we were going to bring that value for an affirmation today. So just to repeat, Board of Equalization Review back in December, Mr. Howell, I believe he had a representative with him as well. The board heard his case. It was decided, I felt by that board that day, and again, him as well, I believe, was in agreement that, to understand that we were going to bring the value today,
But it is a buildable lot. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
It's not
Environmental Health
denied.
has let me know that it did not fail the perk test. That is believed to be able to be permanent.
What's the value you're proposing?
So the value that I have in front of you today is $25,556. I believe that was with a small change to the lot two. I think we actually took 30, but after the small change to the reconfiguration of the size, it dropped down to 25,556.
Have a motion, is there a second?
I believe that I didn't vote. I believe I recused myself when
Right.
this came before the board, so I'd like to recuse myself again now.
Okay, all in favor of reclusing?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of reclusing Commissioner Richardson, raise your right hand. Okay. All right, now, all in favor of the motion? That's all right. We'll still get to the same place. All in favor of the values placed by the assessor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Next one.
Okay, this one is just equally to the point. That same day, we had 3 jets in there, and there was a penalty in front of the board. The board decided to waive the penalties those days on that, the late listing penalty. Well, one of those had actually paid. So because they had already prepaid that penalty, because the board waived the penalty, I'm here asking for a refund on that penalty, as would follow the way that vote goes. Again, board votes, waiver of penalty. I have that penalty, I have that amount in front of you, $2,247.50 would be the refund amount. Normally I put this in a consent, but I wanted to explain this one because it was tied to that BER case.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you, unanimous.
Thank the board.
Thank you, sir. Emergency Services, CDBG application for construction of emergency service complex. DC Linton and Kevin Emery. Is that correct? I say that
Close
right?
enough.
Close enough.
Good evening, Commissioners. First of all, I'd like to thank you and thank the board for their support and for our initiative to participate in North Carolina's Department of Commerce Community Development Brock Grant, or the CDBG. Since June 25, the board's demonstrated a commitment to improving our county's low to moderate income communities by conducting numerous public hearings to solicit community input, ensure transparency in the planning process. So in June, as you know, we come to y'all before to start the CDBG application. We had the public hearing, and then when we went into October, the county staff facilitated a public hearing to discuss the use of the $950,000 for the CDBG program. These funds were to assist in housing improvements for low to moderate income households, residing in the county. This public hearing was advertised on September the 20th of 2025. The same meeting, the board approved a resolution allowing emergency services staff to submit the application to provide housing improvements with a focus on reconstruction to the flood-prone, low to moderate income homes. In December, we come before you because we facilitated a public hearing to discuss the use of $5 million through this grant for the construction of emergency services complex within that same LMI community of west of Washington. The public hearing opportunity was advertised on November 19th. So what we're saying is we recommend the Office of Emergency Services respectfully request your approval to submit the CDBG application totaling $5 million for the construction of the emergency services complex by adopting the attached resolution. This adoption affirms the county's intent to continue pursuing the FY25 CDBG funding opportunities.
I've got apples and oranges here. We got a building complex, and then we got repairing houses. Let's split this into two different things so we can handle it.
So what we did, on the first, to get into this program, we did the housing first, and that's the part of the application. We did that resolution earlier.
So you don't need a resolution approving the housing tonight?
No, sir.
Okay, well, let's throw that out, take that away, and talk about this emergency complex.
Okay.
Okay, well, I can talk about it. Number one, I have a serious problem with taking $5 million and sticking it in the northwest corner of the county away from the rest of the people for the purpose that it's proposed to be used for. Beaufort County is a large county, covers a lot of land. It is split by a river. Some areas have very sparse population. Some areas are not really concentrated, but have more concentrated population. $5 million should serve all of the citizens of the county. And I don't think we're looking at this correctly when we talk about cramming all of this into one building away from everything else, so where nobody knows what's going on in the northeast part of the county. I think we should look at dispersing this money across the county. For instance, there could be a emergency services complex on the south side of the river and one on the north side of the river, and putting it in the corner of the county is not the place to put it. I have serious problems with the planning that has gone into this request for this money.
So the emergency service complex, we're using the word complex, but it will have our emergency services offices, which we have now, and an EOC.
They're out on Highland Drive?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what's wrong with the offices that you have now?
So they're small. So if we have an active event and we have to activate, it is very, very tight. I mean, you've got to have all the 16 different sources that's coming there, plus your emergency management team. We also run EMS out of that same office. So if there's a true activation, there could be 30 to 40 people operating in that one office.
Well, I've been there when there were 30 or 40 people operating in that same building. I've been there several times during emergency things like hurricanes and things like that. You know, the building is adequate. I've got a problem with making government bigger and without serving people.
Any other commissioner?
This would also include potentially a EMS unit to replace the old Ford, which
Yes, sir.
is not serving us right. I mean, the bulk of your calls for the old Ford community is off toward 264 or to 17. And this would allow you to answer those calls and to also jump on 17 and go to Chocowinity to back up Chocowinity or Blunt's Creek or anything else because of the way the calls work. I mean, you know what I do, and I know we see EMS units from all over respond to those areas basically because of call volume and everything else. But this would also allow us to get out Old Ford's building and into something that belongs to the county, keep us from having to rent that space anymore, provide you with space that was built for it, because Old Ford's was not built to be holding EMS, not built to be having people spending the night there realistically. It would provide overnight housing capabilities that are required and needed, and allow that to continue on also. It's not just the EMS, EOC, emergency management. It's going to be, and also you'll also have some warehousing space there also.
Yes, sir.
That
We'll
you
have
don't
our
have.
central receiving distribution point. Right now, we're using Beaufort County Community College Building 15. And if you look at the building, it's basically probably 500 to 800 square foot where we use. And if in a time of a disaster, when we get all the things that come in from the state and the feds, we don't have anywhere to store it. And this way, our CRDP is on site where our EOC is. So that's a span of control thing. So we can keep, know what's going on instead of it being across the county. And another part, it also has another part of warehouse, which is storage for the county.
Yeah, but once again, I'm having trouble finding the need for this. You can go, if you look at the hurricane charts in the Atlantic, they come in patterns. And you can go 20 years and never get hit with a hurricane. And you can also go 20 years and get hit with a hurricane every year. So this is a very iffy thing that we're providing for, that most of the people in Beaufort County that I know of know how to protect themselves when a hurricane is coming, and they do a good job of it. So, we're out getting money simply because the federal government's willing to give a grant to build something that's going to increase the cost of government. As far as storage place goes in Beaufort County, the Beaufort County school systems, most of the schools in this county are half full. Only 50% of the seats are taken by students, and that's getting to be less and less every year. There ought to be plenty of storage space for this emergency storage. Most of the emergency storage only comes in the event of a hurricane, and it goes out in the event of a hurricane over a 2-month period of time at the most. So once again, I think we're building something that we don't need, that's going to do nothing but cost us money.
Commissioner Walker
I like
and
the
Commissioner Booth.
I like the plan, and I love the location. I think it's a good, safe location where people can get in and get out, because when you all get together, you don't need to be worried about flooding water or anything like that. So I think you've done a good job, and I'll be voting for it.
Commissioner Booth.
Well, thank you. I'm gonna make a motion that we approve this.
Motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, Chris.
All right, good afternoon again, Commissioners. So before you again with another item of good news. We have, as historically been the case for animal services, we've been very successful in developing some partnerships and respected relationships throughout our community. And once again, we see that come to light with this particular item. We recently had a family reach out after the passing of both their parents, expressing their parents' desire to donate money to the shelter as part of their final wishes. This family was Mr. Norwood and Miss Lee Houston. They were avid animal lovers, particularly for dogs. One of their last wishes was to provide animal services with $20,000 to help serve our mission. So as we have in the past, our staff met with those family and discussed some different options. And they really liked the option that we had utilized in the past of focusing that money on a spay and neuter initiative, particularly for dogs. They had one dog that was really close to the heart. That was the little Boston Terrier, Fancy, and we included a picture of that. So in their wishes, we are modeling a similar program where we will take this $20,000, we will spay and neuter as many animals in Beaufort County as possible. It'll be an online registration that a county resident will go to the Animal Services website. They'll complete that application. They'll get to choose from one of two vets to provide that service in the county. Those partnering vets have agreed to provide that service at a discounted rate, and we'll exhaust all $20,000 in that initiative. Here before you tonight that donation has already been accepted, so it's sitting in general fund. We're here before you tonight to have that moved over to a line item that will allow us to facilitate those procedures.
Yes, sir.
I know in the past when you do those nude and spadering, that sometimes the participants have a small fee that they had to pay. Is this one gonna be the same way, or is it gonna be the whole thing?
This will be 100% funded.
Okay.
I have a problem with 100% funding.
Okay.
It's not fair. You have a limited amount of money. $300 will only, $10,000 will take care of what, 10 times 30?
So it's about $270 to $300 a dog, depending on whether it's male or female.
Yeah. So, I mean, why can't the person that can afford to buy pet food pay $50 or $75 toward the spay and neuter? It makes the spay and neutering money go further. We're getting more animals. These programs have been successful in reducing animal population in the county in the past. So why not pay?
So from a couple of reasons. First would be just the administrative workload. If we're going to set those limits of who's eligible and who's not, how do we decide those limits and how do we enforce it? Those are always become problematic situations. The more important is, this was the wishes of the family.
The wishes of the family was to pay 100% of the cost to spay and neuter. You got that in writing?
We've got that in conversation.
No, that doesn't carry around here.
Okay, well, I hear your opinion, and we're asking the board's approval for this.
How are you going to decide who gets the freebies?
It's online. It's a first come, first serve.
Still not fair to the public.
I agree.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Brian, are you going to take care of a?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As you're aware, Anita Radcliffe's mother passed away last week, so she is not with us tonight. So I'm handling her items. If you'll keep her and her family in your thoughts and prayers would be appreciated. Page 305, this is the request for disbursement from the Needs-Based Public School Capital Fund Grant, North Carolina Lottery. The first one is reimbursement number 12 for the Washington Elementary School. If you look on page 306, you'll see the breakdown. This is for planning and design. You have the invoices attached to it. The total invoice amount is $440,961.17. The state share of that is $356,164, and the county share is $84,796. We recommend your approval for this reimbursement request.
Have a motion. Is there a second? Discussion. All in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed?
Mr. Chairman, I have a request for the next one of these that comes before us, that we get a statement on change orders on this project, along with the request for payment. In the statement, if there are no change orders, the statement needs to say there are no change orders, and somebody needs to sign it.
Still with you, Mr. Manager.
So you took a vote? You're good?
You need a vote?
I do need a vote on this one, yes, sir.
All right.
So I'll make that as a motion. Wait a minute, you need to vote on paying the money?
I need a vote on reimbursement.
I thought we voted on that.
Yeah, we did.
We did. Yeah, we voted on paying the money. Well, I make a motion that we request a summary of change orders before the next payment is presented.
So your next payment's coming up right now. I got another item for
We
you.
just approved the payment. The next payment.
I got one more coming up for you right
Oh,
after
yeah,
this.
well, okay, go ahead and do that then. I got you.
So on page 329, this is reimbursement number 13 request. And if you turn to page 330, you'll see the breakdown there. This is all for WIMCO for construction. The total reimbursement request is 2.3 million. The state share of that is 1.8, and the county share is $450,002.48. And Commissioner Richardson, I heard what you said, what you're looking for is if there are any change orders, you'd like for that to be noticed in the request.
Yeah, I'll handle that as a
Reimbursement.
separate item on, that's future request, not this one.
I got you, okay. So we'd recommend your approval on this one as well.
Is there a motion?
Second. Oh, I didn't make a motion.
Is there a second? I'll second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Thank you. The motion now.
Yeah, can I, my motion,
Yes,
I
sir.
move that before we receive any more, pay any more of these invoices, that we have a statement come with the invoice that gives us a summary of change orders for the project.
That's your motion.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Need a second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand.
What is that vote, 4-2?
Yeah. All right. You didn't get the vote, was, re-vote again, all in favor?
4-2.
4-2. Opposed?
So we'll move on to page 355 in your agenda. This is a request from the ABC Board for working capital. You'll see a letter attached from the general manager requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve the ABC Board retaining additional excess working capital in the amount of $73,981.68 for two specific capital projects. You'll see that detailed. They're looking for an addition, the total is an additional $16,071.68 for repairs at 750 Carolina Avenue, and then $57,910 for repairs at 821 John Small Avenue, for a total of $73,981.68.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, do they have a capital fund? Does the ABC Board have a capital fund?
They don't. That's what they're asking for this, to be allowed to have some.
So they don't have a capital fund,
Correct.
okay.
I think it's in their budget, and then they needed some additional.
One thing that's puzzling to me is this report and this amount of money to pay for a break-in and damages that were done as a result of the break-in. Commissioners get, and I guess you do too, a report every month of ABC revenues, and in that report, there's a sheet that it has police activity, their enforcement activities that go along with what they do. They've never reported to us that they were broken into and vandalized or whatever.
I think what happened was somebody threw a cinder block through the front window. And I don't know that their ABC folks investigate that. I think that was the city of Washington.
That would either be the city or the county. If it's in the city would do it. And if it's out in the county, then the county would do it.
And my understanding was when they went to do those repairs, they found some additional issues relating to the structure that they needed to fix. That's my understanding, but that's, I wasn't involved with that.
Did we do a motion? Motion? A second. Did we vote? All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last item for me is on page 361. This is the 2027 Essential Single-Family Rehabilitation Loan Pool Program. The county's been in this program several times. Currently, the COG, the Mideast Commission, is completing one of these for the county. They were under contract with the county to do that. Several months ago, the board approved applying for an additional one with this and using McDavid to do that. So this is the grant award from North Carolina Housing Finance Administration for the 2027 Essential Single Family Loan Rehabilitation Program in the amount of $182,000. Also included in that are the program policies, the project ordinance, and the contract with McDavid and Associates to do this work. So we would recommend your approval.
Is there a motion? Have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? As we're supposed to be at our break at 7 o'clock, so.
I wasn't listening.
Oh, I said our break is scheduled for 7, but we are running ahead. Let's take 10 minutes and come back and finish.
All right.
We'll be at ease for 10 minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Langley. So we've been discussing the past couple months about the occupancy tax. And what I want people to realize that this is not a tax that will be paid by a single solitary person in Beaufort County. It is a tax that will be levied against our visitors. And if you've ever been on vacation, more than likely you have paid an occupancy tax. We just came back from Pennsylvania, and we paid occupancy taxes up there to all the Dutch and Amish people up there while we were visiting that fine area. So I have been approached over the past couple months multiple times about people that own Airbnbs, people that are in the tourism industry, and they are very interested in proceeding with an occupancy tax for Beaufort County. So what I would like to do today, we had Mr. Chris Kavanaugh come in last month, I believe it was, to talk about the occupancy tax. What I would like to do today is make a motion that we proceed with asking Senator Britson and Representative Kidwell to propose a local occupancy tax for Beaufort County.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
A lot of discussion.
I got a question.
Commissioner Booth, go ahead.
You did say not one person in Beaufort County would pay into this tax.
Not one single solitary person.
What about if they stay at one of the B&Bs?
Well, if that's what they want to do on the slide, then yes, they're going to pay.
But I'm asking, are they exempt?
No, nobody's exempt. If you stay at an Airbnb, you will pay an occupancy
So
tax.
it is possible that
It is possible.
Okay.
I don't know many people that do that, but I would assume that if, say, you went out toward the outer limits of Belhaven and you stayed at an Airbnb and you got up the next morning and went duck hunting, that yes, you would pay an occupancy
I got
tax.
it. I just want to put that disclaimer out there.
Commissioner Richardson.
Well, the last time that we got into this,
You might.
about 10 years or so ago, what we found out was there's no profit in this tax. And the reason is you're going to have an executive director of some kind or some kind of staff. And you're going to have some accountants to take in the money and redistribute the money, even if they don't audit the accounts. And what we found out before is out in the county, when you do this, is it costs money to do this. And so I don't want to ask to get a bill passed until we see a study that says how much money we can expect to take in over a year's period of time and what the staff costs are in order to run the program. Because and the use of the money, you're going to have to create a board to decide how to spend the money. So, and that's usually the people that own the Airbnbs. So, actually, one way I look at this is these people are using the tax system to do their own business promotion, and they could pay for their own business promotion themselves without the taxpayers doing it. And I have another aversion that I don't like creating new taxing authorities of any kind simply because we have too many now, and 99% of what we have are an abuse of the public. So I'm going to back up and say this. Why don't we do a study to see what this is going to cost versus what we're going to take in before we get a law passed?
Commissioner Dunn, go ahead.
So the Magellan Group, which is where Mr. Kavanaugh works, has in fact done a study, and in 2024, there is going to be, their study shows that there was approximately $290,000 that would have been gathered as this tax for just county, not including the city of Washington, $290,000. Out of that, the first 3% out of $500,000 goes toward administrative cost. After that, it's 1% over $500,000. 2/3 of that money has to go to administrative costs, salaries, and the actual advertising, marketing, and things like that. That pays for the salaries, that pays for marketing, pays for everything else. The other 1/3 of money goes toward the tourism type things. For example, Belhaven's museum. We could give money toward Belhaven's museum. We could give money to the Pantego Museum. Those are people that have come to the board already and asked for money. I looked, we're currently giving $15,000, or we have budgeted $15,000 for tourism that the county manager manages and gives money out for different things. And that money could in fact come from this authority. So that's money that that we're already giving out, that instead of coming out of the county budget and the county taxpayers' money would be coming out of the authority's money, and that money could be saved from the county's budget and used for other funds or reduce the county tax debt as it sits at this time.
Okay, what is the tax rate? How much would we be collecting for each one of these units?
6%.
6% of the rate, whatever they're charging a day. If it's $200 a day for a room, you're going to be $12 a day.
Mike. Anyone else?
Yeah, I concur with Hood on one issue, well, maybe a couple of issues, but number one, chief among them, I just don't think we as commissioners should invite another tax on the people of Beaufort County. And let me explain myself in this regard. There may be some people that want this for whatever reason. I have never had anybody come to me and say, you know, I have a bed and breakfast out in the county, and man, I sure would like to pay that tax. Can you help me pay that tax? I haven't had anybody come to me and tell me that yet. So, and understanding real estate such as I do, I understand that to be another expense. I mean, of course, you're giving it to the government, but the government has got their hand out. But should the government have their hand out? We're the ones making that decision tonight. We're the government. We have the police power. Should government have their hand out, say, hey, pay me, pay me, pay me. We're collecting for other people. We're going to keep a little bit for ourselves. I don't know if we should do that. I think we should maybe consider not. We talked about $200. We used a nice rough figure. We said $12. That $12 is going to go to taxes. That $12 could go to increase the profits of the individual here in Beaufort County. He's going to spend that money more than likely here in Beaufort County. Or he could cut his rate by $12, which would make his rate more beneficial to someone else who wants to come to Beaufort County. It could be seen as an advantage, a greater value. So I don't want government to always be the buffer to take from the public and then try to give some of it back to somebody. Who are they going to give it back to, and why are they going to give it back to? I will always say this: government cannot give back to you what they have not already taken. And if we invite one more tax on us, we're doing it one more time.
And again, the residents of Beaufort County, whether they be the Airbnb owner, the motel owner, are not paying the tax themselves. It is the visitor from out of town, out of the county, that's going to be paying the tax. Now, yes, if you go rent your Airbnb in Belhaven and get up the next morning and go duck hunting, you're going to pay it. But that doesn't happen that often. It's the people at the Military Bowl. My buddy whose office is next door to me said he had people that were sitting beside him from Durham said, hey, we go stay in Washington. We go vacation Washington every year. Stay in Beaufort County. We go out, we have a place out in the farm we go stay at. We go down and enjoy Beaufort County, go to Goose Creek State Park And there are a lot of places in the county that we can support and make better, boat docks, walking trails, and other things that we could support that would get people to be coming in. And I would encourage our municipalities out of Washington, such as Chocowinity, to come up with some sort of spring festival to get people to come to the area so that they could have people coming and staying at motels in the area and get the money to come in and therefore be able to support those sort of things. So it is not a tax on a Beaufort County resident. It is a tax on our visitors from out of town, out of state, out of county.
Well, I have one more question. Aren't B&Bs, these rental places, Lloyd gives them a separate tax, doesn't he? Don't they pay a tax different than just a normal, is there a special tax?
I don't think so. I don't think so at this point.
We need to find out. That's one of the things we need to find out is.
I think if they run like a hotel, then they're going to be charged on cost basis.
5 units or
a
more
commercial
of,
basis,
of
a commercial
rental
basis.
is defined by the statute, I think.
Yeah, I think 5. 5 is it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right, question's been called. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed, 4-2. Commissioner Richardson, Joy McRoy.
Okay, I have this question on the Joy McRoy lawsuit to the county attorney. Do you have anything to report on the county's risk or standing on the Joy McRoy lawsuit and on the other lawsuit that's been filed that we know of? There may be other lawsuits that have been filed relating to the Joy McRoy fraud.
Nothing to report as far as the county's risk or standing with regard to the Joy McRoy case. I can report that since the December meeting, the civil case has been settled. The terms of that are not yet public, but when they become public, I'm sure that the town of Chocowinity will comply with the law and make that available. As far as the criminal case is concerned, that remains pending. The town of Chocowinity doesn't have anything to do with the administration of that. That's within the purview of the district attorney's office. If you would like any additional information, then any inquiries would have to be directed to the district attorney.
Okay.
Your next item.
Okay, the next item has to do with the sale of illegal drugs. We have there's a lot going on in the world having to do with drugs, and drugs impact the people of Beaufort County. Half of the people that are in jail, in prison at least, are there because of illegal drugs and the use of illegal drugs. And families have been ruined. Most of the people that were in here tonight complaining about social services, there's a lot of drugs that circulate that social services has to deal with children and parents and families and that sort of thing. The President of the United States carrying a lot of the battle with what's going on in Venezuela and these other places, and he's putting the pressure on Mexico, and he's doing all that he can. But internally, inside the United States, we have a split personality in the way that we're going about this. On the one hand, we're saying, oh, you poor person, you're using drugs, we're going to give you some money, we're going to give you some help, we're going to make the sentencing as little on you as we can. And then on the other hand, we're saying to the same people, because you did these things, we're going to have to punish you and put you in jail. We're giving away free needles to people, drug users. It's not a good thing. The way we're doing it is a totally disjointed program. And part of the problem from the judges that I've spoken with is that and they all say the same thing, if you make the penalty strong enough, they will stop selling drugs. The countries in the world that do not have drug problems have strong penalties against drugs. All of them. There's about 12 or 15 of them that automatically you get the death sentence if you're convicted with possession. Not much less selling or anything else. They just don't have them there. Most of the countries that have the very strong penalties have been destroyed at one time or another in history by drugs. The famous opium wars of China, where England sold opium to the Chinese and paid the dividends back home, took the money back home. So I have a resolution that the board asked me to write and bring back to them at this meeting which I can read. Take me just a minute to read it, but it goes to the point, I think, of the issue, and I would really like for us to approve this. It says, resolution of support to increase penalties for the sale of illegal drugs. This is focused on the person who is selling the drugs, not on the user of the drugs, because the pinch point in the whole process is the person who's doing the sale of drugs, whether he's selling to a wholesaler or whether he's selling to the ultimate user of the drugs. So this resolution doesn't care who you are. If you're taking money for drugs, we got you. Whereas the illegal use of drugs is becoming ubiquitous across all age and ethnic groups in the United States. Whereas the illegal use of drugs has caused great harm in the form of physical and mental health to individuals, families, and governments. Whereas the financial cost of the operation of government programs to serve illegal drug users is substantial and is growing. Whereas this cost includes more than half the expense of operating the criminal and civil justice systems. This includes jails and welfare systems dedicated to the protection of the public at large. Whereas efforts consisting of current laws and regulations have been marginally effective in reducing the sale and use of illegal use of drugs. Therefore, be it resolved, the Beaufort County Board of Commissioners requests the legislature to pass laws targeting those who sell or take compensation for providing drugs for illegal use to include, 1, a minimum guaranteed incarceration of 10 years for those who receive compensation for providing drugs for illegal use in any amount. Sentencing may be reduced a maximum of 20% of the maximum penalty for providing information leading to the arrest and conviction of other drug dealers. 2, a maximum security prison be constructed for the exclusive purpose of housing those convicted of selling drugs. 3, persons sentenced shall not be eligible for early release under any condition.
That's your motion?
That's it.
Is there a second?
It might sound a little bit harsh, but it's not as harsh as those boats going boom out in the Caribbean.
Well,
and
this model is essentially the federal government's model, and that is if you're caught and convicted, you're going to serve a certain amount of time, but in the reduction of sentences, usually only about 20% for cooperating.
Yeah, well, all I can say is drugs are the evil of our world, and it is creating a society that is dumb and directionless.
Dumber.
Dumb and dumber, absolutely.
Any other comments? All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed, stalemate. Next item, LGBTQ.
Well, the LGBTQ, where is that at? Oh, okay, I got you. I'm a page off. The summary. I'm the first in my family that could read. So we're doing good. The LGBTQ thing is a problem in Beaufort County. It is being pushed by the community college. The school system claims that this is not present in the school system, but it is present from the standpoint that the early college students or high school students. So technically, even if it's not pushed in the school system, it is still there. One of the questions I have is the cost of supporting the LGBTQ issue at the community college, because Dr. Loop told us that someone was assigned, he has a staffer assigned to this. Now, he didn't want to identify the staffer, and that's fine. But we need, how much are we paying to support this system? If you go out and walk around the campus, you'll see that it's advertised on the school communication system. It's up on the screens when the meeting is and all this sort of thing. So I would like to see that included when we get our, when we work on the budget. What is it costing for this county to support the LGBTQ issue? And the let's see, information content, upcoming school community budget regarding LGBTQ, and does this board support LGBTQ at the community college? I'll make a motion that we not support LGBTQ and not pay for it at the community college in their budget.
We should not pay for
Yeah.
it comes into the community college.
Yep.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Now, let's be clear about the motion is not to support it. So if you vote for the motion, you're voting not to support it. If you vote against the motion, you're voting to support LGBTQ.
And the turning point.
And the turning point thing, throw that in there.
And what I meant by, let me speak, because I didn't have my microphone on. I'm in complete support of Turning Point USA. I think it's a wise thing. Children need to be led down the proper path, and there's no better path than the path that Christ gave us to go down. And that's what's being pushed with Turning Point USA. That and people going back to the way things used to be a little bit, where things weren't so crazy and they were a bit more normal. So, but I still don't think government should be involved by paying for it or giving any money. I mean, I think if, quite frankly, I think some of these outside entities like LGBTQ, Turning Point USA, if they even paid a modicum of rent for the room, that would be good. I just think it looks better to have a separation between these groups that are advocacy groups for a different type of lifestyle. And I will say Turning Point USA, while I consider it to be normal, not crazy, it is very different than what we see in our society today. I don't want to see that get lost over little pieces of money.
All right. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Stalemate.
Okay, at least we know where we are. The next item that I have on here is the guaranteed minimum income at BHM Library. I have just got this, and I've scanned this, and this is pure propaganda. That's all it is. It comes from somebody over at the library. It's pure propaganda. For one thing, they made an untrue statement in here that said that the newspaper has no knowledge of the article in there that said that the library was supporting the program, which is the guaranteed minimum wage program. That is not true. How did I know about this if I didn't read it in the newspaper? Because that's what I brought in to begin with. Making false statements is not a good thing. The whole issue that surrounds this for the library, for crying out loud, which is supposed to be the most innocuous thing in the whole county, to be out actively supporting social issues, shows a serious problem with government and what government is supposed to be doing, but it also shows gross ignorance of the library board in what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be running a library. They are not supposed to be out pushing and supporting social issues. Now, the statement is in the newspaper. It has not been retracted in any way in the newspaper. So they can protest all they want to and say, we didn't do it, we're innocent, but they did. The public at large needs to be aware and very concerned about what appointive bodies are doing. Nobody on the library board is elected to be on the library board. Everybody on the library board is appointed. So when they start usurping their authority, getting into things other than running the library, you need to be concerned about social, political activism and how far it's gone and how far it's getting in Beaufort County. So, I still think the library should print a retraction or have the newspaper print a retraction if the newspaper did not tell the truth about the library. But newspapers are usually pretty good about having at least a thread for whatever they publish. So somebody at the library told them they were supporting this, And if it was misprinted or misunderstood by the newspaper, they should go back to the newspaper and have it corrected.
Well, I want to say this because I'm one of those board members from the library, and I have not seen that article, and as astute as you are, Commissioner Richardson, I would certainly think that based on what you're saying, that you would have brought the article here to show to everybody that there's a factual basis for what you're saying.
You're saying I'm lying and she's telling the truth. Is that what you're saying?
If that's the way you choose to interpret that.
That's what you said.
Then that is what I'm saying.
There should be honor among us thieves.
Now, the whole time you were speaking, no one interrupted you. So now I am speaking. So let me have my say. The other thing is, this was an opportunity for the library to get some funding. There's a billionaire who wants to help fund people who provide services for the community at no charge. At the library, as well as at the community college, they are allowed to go and have free internet. So they offer these grants of $15,000 to these different agencies. Well, that process is over with. The BHM library did not get the grant. So this is really a moot point if as far as I'm concerned. But as far as dictating minimum wage, that's not the point that the library was doing. They were simply being offered an opportunity to get some funding, and they took advantage of the opportunity. As long as we have opportunities to gain funding for our community, I say we ought to take advantage of it. We should capitalize on every opportunity we get. There's nothing political about providing services for people. And I'll remind you what our Lord and Savior has said. When you did it unto the least of them, you have done it unto me. Next, Commissioner. Hearing no one else, your next item, Commissioner Richardson.
Okay. The update of the status of hiring the new manager, where are we with this?
So we're on the original timeline that was approved at the December meeting. It's my understanding the board members have turned in their profile. On December the 29th, the position was advertised locally on our website and in the Washington Daily News, and it'll run there for the next 2 weeks. It was advertised statewide on the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners website, and it was advertised nationally on the International City County Managers Association job board. So we are in compliance with, or we are in line with the timeline that was approved by the board. The application period closes January the 22nd. From that time until January the 6th, the board members will have access to all of those applications, and you'll have the opportunity to review them and determine your top 5. And then according to the timeline, by February the 9th, you'll meet to determine who are your top 5 and who you're going to interview. It may be more than 5. They just said 5. And then by the 27th of February, you'll complete your interviews. If you need to do a second interview or negotiate contract employment, if you've already decided, that'll be done by March the 13th. And then you're on schedule, if you stay on schedule, to make an announcement of the selection of your new manager on March the 20th.
Thank you.
Okay. At this time, we're at commissioner comments. Any commissioner have any comments?
I do, but anybody else wants to go?
What's that?
Huh? I don't care if somebody else wants to go.
We're just commissioners. We're down here at the county level, and we're the largest local government here in Beaufort County. And I will argue that all politics, all governing is local, and we are very important. But what is going on right now at the national level is huge. And I tend to question, although I've been rather astute about governing and how things work in America, I tend to question why we never did this before. I mean, we really do have a war on drugs going on right now. It's serious. And our president is completely in line with his Article II powers to do exactly what he's doing. we need to do something about narcotics here at home, at the state level, and at the national level and abroad. It's killing so many people. It's ruining so many lives. It's creating just shells of human beings that never really come back to the full potential of their abilities to do what they need to do in a functioning society. And what happens to a society when you have a non-functioning society? It gets overcome, it gets taken, it gets routed. And America's lasted almost 250 years as a republic. We got real close to being routed by somebody at some time. I mean, we saw what happened in Afghanistan. It was a joke, the greatest debacle in American military history. And then you saw just weeks later, months later, what happened in Ukraine. Bullies will take advantage of weakness. Right now, our nation is strong, and we as commissioners need to be strong. And we need to do what's right in every situation. And sometimes we don't do that. But we need to know what's right, and we need to do what's right.
Commissioner Richardson.
It's disappointing that a Board of County Commissioners in a county where we're spending millions of dollars a year to run a jail and a law enforcement system are not willing to do anything to stop the scourge of drugs. Because of that, and I don't know why you keep voting down, I keep bringing you this stuff, and you keep voting it down. It's very telling on you as to where you are, how involved are the three commissioners who voted to continue drugs in Beaufort County. Just how involved are you in the drug culture in Beaufort County? You're saying a lot about yourselves. To that end, I'm going to give you an opportunity to redeem yourself. And that is, why don't you make a presentation as to what to do about drugs and how to fight drugs in Beaufort County and show where you are with this. Because right now, the image the public has is that you support illegal drugs.
Well, I say let's start right here across this dais. Let's all take the drug test. Show people we're serious about it. Let us all volunteer to take it and show that we're serious about drugs in this county. Are we willing to do that? Are we willing to do that?
I'll do it as long as the county pays for it.
Yeah, okay.
And it's public.
Yeah. That's another disclaimer.
I'm not paying any money to the county.
That's another disclaimer.
Any other commissioner? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I got a question now.
No, this is commissioner comments. Everybody you get your 2 minutes, that's it.
Limited board, limited free speech.
Did we have a motion? All in favor? All in favor? Thank you, sir. All in favor, raise your right hand. We adjourn.